We are here for the first match preview of the 24-25 Premier League season. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. Welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're on our travels this weekend against Arsenal, one of the best teams in England right now. They're looking to obviously try and lift that Premier League title. They've just missed out over the last couple of seasons. And for Wolves, we're hoping that we can build on what was a productive season last year, obviously with the situation that we were in about this time last campaign. Julian Lopetegui leaving early doors, and obviously Gary O'Neill coming in with pretty much no pre-season. Wolves did okay, considering for a small part of it we were possibly challenging for a European spot as well. As always, guys, on this video today we're going to be looking at my thoughts, the latest team news, a predicted lineup, and we'll have the opposition perspective later on as well. And before we kick off, be sure to go and check out our channel partners over at Football Prizes, who this week have a fantastic prize up for grabs. It's a Ryan Aït-Nouri signed shirt from this season, the 24-25 season, alongside some instant win prizes. So if you want to get involved in that, be sure to use the link in the description down below. Now, this match preview as well for the first time is also available on audio, so if you want to be listening to this on your way home from work, or maybe on the way to the match or ahead of the match tomorrow, check us out on all the good podcast providers as well. But we have just had Gary O'Neill's pre-match press conference. I've done this on the Friday, so the match previews are a little bit later. Sometimes I do them earlier. If you prefer it like that, do let me know. But this way we can get all the latest team news. And we have had some extremely good news from Gary O'Neill, because there were a lot of question marks over a number of players. Matheus Cunha obviously had picked up a knock whilst in America, and we hadn't really seen him for the rest of pre-season. Jorgen Strand Larsen had a small knock. Mario Lemina had a small knock against Vallecano as well. But Gary O'Neill has given us the green light, given us the thumbs up, and said everyone is pretty much fine and good to go tomorrow against Arsenal. That is brilliant news, because number one, it doesn't make me look daft really with any of my predicted lineup suggestions. But also, I think for Wolves to go into this first game with a fully fit and full strength squad is fantastic. Now, questions were asked to Gary in regards to the future of the likes of Gonzalo Guedes and Daniel Podence, and Mr. O'Neill also said both of those players will be in the squad for tomorrow's game against Arsenal, which is a phenomenal turnaround when you consider the state and the position that both players are in, not necessarily under Gary O'Neill, but under previous regimes. And Gary O'Neill has said they've been great around the training ground, and he's going to be giving them that opportunity. So no doubt we may well see those pair play for some time as well tomorrow, which is going to be very interesting to see. It's a real split in the Wolves fan base at the moment. I think part of us is still expecting those guys to move on. But really, if they start off the season well, I don't think the Wolves are going to have to panic to maybe get a Neto replacement in, because maybe you've got a couple of quality players there that can certainly fill a couple of gaps in the squad. I think for now, obviously, the main priority will be centre-back. And Gary O'Neill, again, was asked so many times about transfers. He says nothing is imminent, but you could still tell he wants players, and he wants players to be signed and brought in to strengthen this squad. Other main absence for tomorrow's game is Nelson Semedo. He picked up a red card on the final game of the season last year against Liverpool, so he won't be in the squad. So therefore you would expect Matt Doherty to start. Maybe Pedro Lima as an outside shout, but I certainly expect Doherty to play ahead of Lima. But let's get my predicted lineup on the screen. If you are listening as well, I'll talk through my suggestions. It is going to be, as you would expect, Jose Sarr in goal. I've gone with Ryan Aït-Nouri, Totti Gomez, Yerson Mosquera, and Matt Doherty is the back four. This is pretty much the full-strength back four that Gary O'Neill has been playing with, so no Craig Dawson, no Santi Bueno in my opinion. Middle two of Mario Lemina and João Gomez, and then the attacking four, really. I think Rodrigo Gomez has got to get the nod due to his form in pre-season. So I'll go with Rodrigo Gomez, Hwang Hee-chan, Matheus Cunha, and Jorgen Strand Larsen to start off. But there's so many alternatives. The next few weeks, obviously, we will know and probably see a little bit more what Gary wants to do with the squad. But certainly, Jean-Ric Nabelgard had some productive moments in pre-season. Pablo Sarabia also. Tommy Doyle. I think it'd be really interesting, because that lineup that I've suggested is quite attacking. I certainly feel like that is the Wolves probably at the moment one of our strongest lineups on paper. But certainly Gary might go into that game and want to go a little bit more defensive. I doubt he'll go with a back five, but certainly may look to add another player centrally so Mario Lemina could drop into the back five if needed as well. But who knows? It'll be very, very interesting. But we'll move on to the opposition perspective now. I spoke to a good friend of mine, Deluded Gooner, to get his thoughts on the game tomorrow. Also, I drop him a little quiz as well, which is brought to one of our subscribers who's got loads of quiz books over on Amazon right now. There's a Wolves one. If I remember, I'll make sure I put a link to it in the description down below. But any team that you follow, there's quiz books for that as well. So make sure you go and check that out. But we'll move on now to the opposition perspective with DG. So then, the first opposition preview of the 24-25 season. DG, it's good to have you back on the channel. How you keeping, man?
Lovely to be here, my guy, man. That's a shame that we have to do battle on Saturday, but it's always a pleasure to speak to you, man. One love for bringing me back, man.
No, my pleasure, man. Arsenal, it's always... I mean, when we first came back into the Premier League, we've had some pretty close games, but you certainly have got the better of us over the last couple of years. But, I mean, you've been so close at the top of the Premier League table, which we'll talk about as well. But if we start off with your pre-season, obviously Arsenal sort of licking their wounds somewhat maybe after the end of last season. But how's the pre-season been getting on under Mikel Arteta?
I mean, considering, that there's been the Copa America and the Euros, we've been all right, man. I personally think against Lyon and more so Leverkusen, they've probably been our best games. Of course, we came back from behind against Man United. We lost to Liverpool. Haven't been able to exactly field our strongest team and whatnot. But I think it's looking good. He's flirted with a couple of different tactical formations, giving opportunities to young players. So let's just hope it matters, man, come May. But yeah, so far so good where pre-season is concerned. What about you lot?
Yeah, I mean, it's been okay, to be fair. I mean, we were in America as well, played Palace and West Ham, Leipzig as well. We had a really good win over Leipzig. But last week, we played Vallecano and we were pretty poor, to be honest. So I think a lot of everything after the America trip, everyone was quite happy. And then when it's your last pre-season game and you don't perform, everyone starts worrying again. So there's a lot of concern, a lot of nervousness this week from the Wolves fans. But for Arsenal, what's the transfer window been like, DG? Have you been busy? What's the sort of players that have been linked or coming in at the moment?
The only ones we've seen come through the door is technically a young keeper called Tommy Setford. Technically, we've made David Raya's deal permanent. He's obviously spent a year here last year on loan, and we bought Calafiori. In relation to the other business, I do reserve the right to criticize the club when the window closes, but it has been a bit underwhelming. It is one of frustration. I'm sure every football fan that just looks at transfer news has probably seen Arsenal's been linked with Mikel Moreno forever. Hopefully that draws to a conclusion. I personally think we need a striker. I know we got 91 Premier League goals and whatnot, but I don't think we have that killer in front of goal. And I do think we need a wide man or a versatile attacker if you can't get a winger and a striker to deputise for Saka and provide another option on the left. We haven't brought in a central midfielder, a striker, or a winger, so I don't know if we're actually stronger versus last season. So it started well. It's a bit underwhelming. We've done okay in terms of outgoings. I still think there's speculation already in Nketiah. You would have seen his move didn't work. Kivior's been linked with moves away. Nothing has come of that. Nelson's obviously, nothing's come of that. And my heart broke when we sold Smith Rowe. But other than that, bro, nothing really of note, man. I'm pretty sure Wolves fans are like us in the sense of you want to see your clubs get a move on, man. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's been quite, I was going to say quite a slow window in general at the moment. I'm sure we will
Yeah.
see more transfers once the season starts and so on. But yeah, I mean, I think Wolves fans are disappointed. We've sold obviously Neto, which you would have seen, who I'm sure we've spoken about many times before. Kilman went as well. And we haven't, as of right now, replaced them. So I think that's what Wolves fans are certainly concerned about. Do you think there's anyone in that Arsenal camp that may move on that could fit those spaces to Wolves? Maybe like a wide player and a centre-back or...
I mean, talk to us about Reece Nelson, man. I'm going to be evil. I wouldn't tell you lot to buy Kivior, but we've got Kivior and Nelson if you lot want to have a look, man. It's weird, though, because you lot keep being linked with Aaron Ramsdale. I don't know if anything's going to come of that, but
Yeah.
you lot are linked with Ramsdale. We want Dan Bentley. So, yeah, man, come and talk to us about Nelson, bro. Or Eddie if you want.
You think, well, Nketiah as well is always a player that... So I just don't think I've seen. Obviously, he's performed and got goals for Arsenal in small doses, but I've never seen him. I think I'd want to see him on a consistent basis in the Premier League before I make a real judgment on him. But I've never been that convinced by him. But do you think him or even Reece Nelson could certainly be a good player for other Premier League teams? I mean, it's so hard at Arsenal because ultimately you're going to be title challengers for the foreseeable. So if they're not good enough for that, do you think they're good enough to be playing regularly in the Premier League though?
I mean, I'd prefer to have a look at Nelson if I'm honest. I do think, to be fair, I do think Arsenal fans give Eddie and Nketiah a bit of a tough time. Clearly, as you're saying, we're trying to be a Premier League winning side. We've been spoilt with the Aubameyans, the Alexises, the Henrys, etc. So he's not of that ilk. He's obviously wearing the number 14. But I think it's harsh. You know, the man's a homegrown lad. I don't think he's ever kicked up a fuss. I do think he's deputized him up front and on a number of good occasions. I just don't think he's good enough, really. You know, a lot of our players, when it comes to link-up play, they can do it in 2-3 touches. He probably needs threes and fours. So I do think Eddie could do a job. And kind of what you said, inferior about him going to Wolves, is probably what a lot of people have the fear about, in that there's no guarantee. The Marseille deal didn't happen. He's been linked with, who has he been linked with? Bournemouth. Bournemouth have obviously signed another striker, but then if I'm Bournemouth, you can't really go from Solanke, who did the business for you, to Eddie and Nketiah, where you hope. So I do think they could get Premier League football or play in the top 5 league, but if I was buying anyone, I think Nelson would be more of a surer bet, man.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Certainly, I think Wolves will probably make some moves. I'm sure Arsenal will move other players on as well.
Hope so.
Yeah, you're talking about tactics and Mikel Arteta swapping it up and trying different things. I mean, do you think there's going to be any major tactical changes compared to last season? What do you think he's going to change to try and get his hands finally on that Premier League title?
Do you know what the craziest thing is with the manager? You don't actually know. I don't think he's changed anything dramatically. I do think you'll see a bit more of us, or a lot less of us, being lopsided. Every Arsenal fan and football fan knows that if our right hand side with Odegaard, Saka, Benjamin White, and indirectly Saliba, if that didn't do anything in the game for us, we're in issues. I don't think we've filled the void that Granit Xhaka's left. Zinchenko obviously has not kicked on, and I do think that's harmed Trossard and more so Martinelli. So I do think with Calafiori and maybe prolonged fitness from Timber, you'll see us down the left-hand side a bit more. He has flirted with Kai Havertz in central midfield, which I'm not a fan of. And we've probably seen more link-up plays than anything. And Arteta keeps speaking about it. There's a couple of occasions where Gabriel Jesus, Trossard and Kai Havertz, they've all been out there together. And there's been more of like a synergy between them. Like one will drop deep, the others will make runs off the ball, etc., etc. So I think that is currently what we would see, but I don't think anything major until we sign a Mikel Moreno in central midfield, sign another option out wide, or probably not going to happen, but another striker. So it's more different player relations in the left-hand side for me.
Yeah, I've been certainly interesting. I think Arsenal for so long last season looked so comfortable at the top of the league, but I think everyone in the back of their mind just thought City, if they need to, they're going to go up the gears and they're
Yep.
somehow going to do it, and they did do so in the end last season. Were you expecting? I know we've spoken about the transfer business already. Were you expecting a little bit more to strengthen that Arsenal team to try and push City a little bit more? Because I think City will make moves, but maybe their depth, especially in the forward areas, has deteriorated slightly. Were you expecting Arsenal to maybe push on and strengthen a bit more to try and compete a little bit more with City?
Yeah, as I was saying, you know what? To be fair, as much as I'm concerned, I'll shut my mouth until the end of the window, because that's when nothing can get done. As you'd
Yep,
agree, you know, as much
for
as
sure.
Wolves fans or Arsenal fans could be frustrated, you don't know what your directors of football and managers are doing actually while we're recording this video. But with that being said, and another luxury I'll give, obviously we've had the Copa America and the Euros, and that kind of puts a bit of a spanner in the works. But as an Arsenal fan, if I eliminate that point, the last 2 years, we've got these players in early, like David Raya, Kai Havertz, Timber Rice. They were in early the season before Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus came in early. Calafiori obviously playing at the Euros, but once the Euros was done, that progressed quite quickly. I know Mikel Moreno's just won the trophy with Spain, but I did expect to see at least a central midfielder, or better yet, let's not get hung up on positions. I did expect to see some numbers brought into the club. Definitely on the verge of, for both of us, our Premier League seasons kicking off. So it is a bit of a concern, because they've still got to obviously adapt. We're not midway through the season, but the season's kicked off. So I
Yeah.
did think we would sign a couple more, man. So that's where my frustration comes, because as you said, we need to kind of get closer to City, man, in terms of depth.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Arsenal are gifted with talent all across the pitch. But going forward this season, based on maybe what you've seen previously and what you've seen in pre-season, maybe pick out a couple of players who you think are really going to have another top season for Arsenal, or maybe a player that hasn't really delivered as of yet, who you think is going to improve a lot this year.
I mean, it's a bit of a cop out, but you've got to say Bukayo Saka first and foremost, because it's a bit mad. Because obviously we've got many different goal scorers. We scored 91 Premier League goals last year. We can score from set pieces and individual brilliance and batter teams, as you would have seen. But Bukayo Saka is the sure money. I don't think the bookies would be paying out too much on him getting double figures. I hope, and I really do hope, Kai Havertz's form continues, particularly the Kai Havertz of the second half of the last season, or better yet, since 2024. For me, as a selfish Arsenal fan, I'd love our boys from Brazil and Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli to get back firing really. Gabriel Jesus needs to stay fit. But when you look at the last 2 seasons, the season before the one that's just gone and the one that's obviously just been played, you've seen 2 different Martinelli. So I'm going to back them. But if you was asking me right now to bet on who I genuinely believe is going to deliver the goods, I have to go with Kai Havertz. I have to go with Trossard, and I have to go with Bukayo Saka, man. And it's more hope with the other individuals.
No, I like that. Havertz is such. I think obviously he didn't have the best of times at Chelsea, but like you said, I think even at Molineux towards the end of last season, he had a real impact for you guys. And I think a lot of people are keeping their eye on Havertz. Coming up, and even
It's one of the
Saka.
first names on the team sheet, bro.
Yeah, even Saka. I know England, managed to get to the final, but it wasn't the most straightforward thing in the Euros. But Saka just always, for me, looked like that bright spark. And even when that to sort of shoehorn him on the left hand side at left back or left wing back or whatever, I think that just shows the quality and the type of player that he is as well. And I think a lot of even neutral football fans are going to keep their eye on Saka this season. I think it's going to be a top year for him. DJ, I didn't pre-warn you about this, but I'm going to give you a few little questions. One of our subscribers has got a host of quiz books, but they're fairly up to date over on Amazon. And I said to him,
damn.
I'll get a couple of questions, but a lot of them are sort of relevant to this fixture as well. There are a couple of Arsenal only ones. I'll only give you a few, but I want to test your knowledge of Arsenal.
I'm going to fail, man, but go on.
When you're under pressure, it's always difficult. We'll start with the FA Cup. I can give you multiple choice, to be fair, to make it easier.
Yeah, multiple choice, man.
So how many times do you think Arsenal have won the FA Cup? We've got 12, 13, 14 or 15. How much? 14.
I'm going to say 14.
14. Yeah, it's correct, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's fine. Yeah.
He's starting off well. Who's made the most appearances for Arsenal? 722 in all competitions. We've got David O'Leary, Tony Adams, George Armstrong, or Lee Dixon.
Way before my time. You know what? David O'Leary.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, holds a record of appearances 1975 to 1993. Nice one. Two more quickly. Who became Arsenal's youngest ever goal scorer in a 5-1 League Cup win against Wolves in December 2003? They got Jose Antonio Reyes, Cesc Fabregas, Robin van Persie, or Matthew Flamini.
Say the names again.
You got Reyes, Fabregas, Van Persie, Flamini.
Fabregas.
Fabregas, yeah, correct. 16 years and 212 days.
It was between him and Reyes, man. I just thought Fabregas.
And then the last one, it should be pretty easy. What was the score in last season's meeting between Arsenal and Wolves at the Emirates Stadium in the Premier League?
Ironically, I cannot remember.
I got the options if you want it.
Yeah, go on. That's the one I'm going to struggle with.
2-1, 1-0, 0-0, or 4-0.
Is that the Emirates?
Yeah, at the Emirates.
Damn. I don't think we battered you lot 4-0, I'm going to go 2-0. I don't think we did 4 against you.
2-1 or 1-0?
Oh, yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's correct. I will double check. Yeah, it was 2-1. Because if you remember, I think you scored 2 goals in like the first 5 or 10 minutes. And Arsenal fans are like rubbing their hands together thinking,
yeah.
And then you just took your foot off the gas.
It was a nervy end. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did well, 100%. There you go.
I'm cool, man. My rep was on the line there.
I appreciate it. And if I get an very early prediction for you, DG, what do you think for Arsenal this year? Is this the year? Is the title win, or do you think you're going to just come up short again?
You know what, man? Let's be optimistic, man. What's the worst that can happen? We don't win it. You know what? We're going to do it this year. I've got no evidence. It's fully blind optimism, but F it, man. It's the start of the season. We're winning the Premier League, man. Let's go for it. I'll say it's AI if they try to clip me, but yeah, we're going for it.
and a score prediction for Saturday as well, if you've got one.
You see, now, I feel Arsenal and Wolves fans are kind of in a similar boat in that, obviously we're 2 different clubs, but you're kind of frustrated about the lack of signings. You're keen to see what your manager's on. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal, man. I think we'll sneak away with it, but I don't think we'll be at our best. Equally, I don't think you lot are going to roll over. Naturally, everybody's going to be up for it. It's the start of the season. Is Cunha fit?
Yeah, he's back in training. I'm not sure if he'll start as of right now, as we speak, but I'd assume he'll play some part in the game.
See, he's the one that scares me. But you know what? 2-1 Arsenal, man. Just about.
Yeah, I think it'll be a close game as well. I think I said on our podcast earlier this week, I'd snap your arm off for a draw or a point right now. But I think Arsenal at home again, starting off that sort of title push again, they'll want a good start. So I'm sure it'll be a close game. But DG, where can people find you in the socials if they wish?
Oh man, you know what? On Twitter and Instagram and all those things, just type in Deluded Gooner 04. You'll find me. Likewise on YouTube, just type in Deluded Gooner. I've actually started a second channel, so if you type in DG Sports Views, that's more like my more neutral kind of content away from Arsenal. So that's where you can find me, man. Dave, it's always a pleasure to be here, man. See,
Legend,
it's actually been a good video to do, man.
yeah,
Appreciate
no,
it.
no, my pleasure. I'll make sure I leave the links for Deluded Gooner in the description, and I'm sure his name will be
Appreciate
in the
that.
title of the video as well. But apart from Saturday, mate, all the best for the rest of the season. I'll catch you next
Come on.
time.
You two the same, man. Come on, man. Come on, Wolves. I'm rooting for you lot as well, man.
Cheers,
Especially
brother.
when you lot play Spurs times two. Make sure you take points of them. And actually, well, 4 games. Take some points of City as well, man.
I will
So
do,
big
mate.
up
Don't
you, man.
worry. Cheers, brother.
Come on, my guy.
So big thanks once again to the Deluded Gooner. Great insight as always. He's a good friend of mine. So really appreciate him jumping on the channel and helping out. But guys, do let me know your thoughts. If you are watching on YouTube, in the comment section down below, we'll drop us a tweet if you have listened to the audio version of this podcast and this preview. To let me know your thoughts ahead of this match. What are you thinking? Your score predictions. Will Wolves get off to a positive and hopefully winning start? As always, loads of content coming out on all our socials at Talking Wolves everywhere, and on YouTube, lots of videos and podcasts coming out. The transfer podcast has just been released today as well, so if you're listening to this preview, be sure to go and check out the transfer podcast as well. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are watching on YouTube, leave us a 5-star rating if you are listening on Spotify or Apple, and fingers crossed it's 3 points to Wolves on Saturday. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you all soon.